Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from the hardware and software to apps and the latest updates from the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty, a faculty member at a Midwest university and podcaster and also an Apple product fan.
I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content. Currently, photography of plants and birds and panoramic sequences.
David.
And I am Dave Ginsburg, and I am a podcaster extraordinaire on In Touch with iOS and a little less of a year user of the Vision Pro, but glad to be here.
It's good to have Dave with us. He always brings some great stuff to In Touch with iOS, and he always has some good thoughts about what's going on with Vision Pro. So it's nice to have him here, and we have him. We have him occasionally. We have him as much as we can, as much as he's willing to be here. And then we also have Daniel, who is kind of every other show with us, which is fine too. So, anything new with your Vision Pro this week? Anything that you've stumbled across that's worth mentioning at this point?
No. I checked to make sure it was up to date, which it was.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what are we going to talk about? There's no business to talk about.
I know.
I did notice one thing with trying to do messages and having messages do text recognition or subtitling, or I can't think of the exact term. And then trying to share content between two Apple Vision Pro users. Like you could either get the speech to text, or you could get the sharing content, but I couldn't get both to work at the same time. So I'll have to do some more experimenting. I don't know if it's just approaching the limits of what the processor can handle, or if nobody thought that someone would want to do both at the same time. Maybe it'll be an update coming out in June.
Yeah, pretty much everybody, I think, has heard about the extra tab in the Apple TV app at this point. But I started seeing reports of them kind of redoing the environments. I mean, it's the same environments. They might have added another one, or they've done some significant resolution changes in the environments, because I saw pictures of before and after the update, the 2.5 update. So just, I love people who are able to find that stuff, or at least able to make a story out of it. And I'm not a big environments guy, but this is what I saw: a whole series of before and afters shots of new environments. Not much else new in the world with it that I can tell. I had it on a couple of times today, trying to, like Dave was saying, see if there was some update or something, and there isn't. I don't think we'll probably see one again till WWDC. Yeah. And that's 3 weeks away, June 9th?
June 9th,
Yep. And I think I have a wedding to go to that day, so looks like I'll have some entertainment at the wedding.
Well, not at noontime.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to check that.
I'm sorry, 1 p.m. your time.
Yeah, 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I want to talk a little bit about the RezMed headband, because I've had more opportunity to play with it. And there was an interesting post. We got some of these posts in the show notes, so you can find them in the show notes. The RezMed headband seems to be readily available in stores, I think. I mean, I had mine in the, holding for a long time. Then got a notice it was available and was ready to ship. Actually, I paid for it. So I think more people are getting them and more people are using them. But there was an interesting post that was done on Reddit and the link is in there, where someone had sort of asked AI to do a meta-analysis of reviews of it and what different people said about the Apple Vision Pro, this new RezMed setup. And overall, they kind of said, well, people like it. It's pretty good. And then of course there are going to be folks who just don't like it. Some of the complaints was that after multiple use, the attachment of the weights, the Velcro stopped kind of working on it in surfaces. And potentially Apple will find a solution for that, because this is coming out of the Apple Store. It is produced by RezMed, which is a CPAP maker primarily, but they using the same sort of headgear with weights on it. I had it on at least a couple of times. Well, I had it on a couple of times today and other times. And when you first pick it up, when you're taking it off and picking it up, you notice the weight. I mean, it's, that the headset is already heavy without it on the front end, but you notice it when you pick it up. And when you get it on your head, I'm getting to notice it less because of the balance on it. And it does, whereas I used to have a lot of pressure along the front, it does seem to ease up that pressure, and I don't have to have it so tightly against my face for it to work. So it's expensive. It's $120 or something like that. But I'm positive on it. I'll leave it on for a while and then switch back to the Belkin strap with the solo loop and see if I notice any big difference between the two. Yeah.
One thing I'll mention, it looks like it's sold out at Apple right now, because I go to their store and it says currently unavailable. So just note that. And the other thing I just do, I went to RezMed's website. They have a specific website just for this product. And it kind of seems like they're not affiliated with RezMed as far as the CPAP machines, sleep machines, because there's no reference to it, and the logo looks different too. Well, maybe I'm wrong.
Have to look into that differently. Again, maybe it's something that Apple subcontracted with them, and so for that reason they decided to make it a separate entity from the company. But that's interesting question.
Yeah.
So we do have some links about the strap, and I put some old reviews in it because when I first read the summation review, I thought, well, this is kind of pulling from old reviews. Let's get some, and when I mean old reviews, I mean a month old. So it's not like the announcement when it came out or was going to come out in November or October. I didn't put those in, but I did put in a couple of reviews that were in the last month. And there is a YouTube video that I've included that really is well done, but the guy could have done it a little quicker. It's a 30-minute video on this one item, and he really takes his time with it in the description, and I can appreciate that. But for my purposes, I wanted to move through it quicker. But he does give a full review on it and talks about the components and how to put it on and the confusion that some folks have trying to get it in the right direction. Some of the complaints about it that I've read in terms of the weight doesn't work right. There are some folks who are AnaPro 2 users that love AnaPro 2, and they're not going to like anything other than that. But there are also folks that they suspect don't like it because they attached it wrong to the device and they flipped it around and put it in the wrong direction. And so the complaints they had about it were kind of based on the fact that they were wearing it wrong. So an interesting set of articles. And again, that YouTube video, if you want to take a look at it. I'm sorry to hear that it's out of stock, but it was out of stock within like a day after the first time it came out. And it's been in stock, I'd say at least a week. I mean, I've had mine for a couple of weeks now. It got shipped to me when it first came back into stock. So interesting addition. I think it addresses some of the problems with the counterbalance, but it's something you have to get used to because you're essentially putting more weight on your head, but you're strapping it to the back of it this time.
I will correct myself. It is the same company, but for some reason they hide the Kontor product. You go to RezMed.com and it'll bring you to the CPAP machine, CPAP stuff. But when you go, when you Google it, and there is a specific link for this headset on their website, it makes no reference of sleep machines. Well,
I think one time when I was waiting on mine, I was getting frustrated. I'm like, can I just buy this directly from the company? So I went to RezMed and I did in their search for their site, I put in Kontor, or I put in Vision Pro, and then it took me to the product and it was sold out there too.
Yeah.
So we've got some fun articles Dave, you brought a couple of fun articles in, and we'll get to those. But I want to go to an article that came out, I think, the day after, and we picked it up on In Touch with iOS, and we talked about it. And then there was some conversation on Chuck's show, I think, about it. But this Wall Street Journal article that essentially was a hack job on Vision Pro, and I've now seen it in other stories about it. I've now seen people complaining about how it was really a hack job. But they interviewed two or three people who were disgruntled with their Vision Pro. And so I don't want to give it too much airtime here, but I know both of you have been in the discussion on this and maybe have read the Wall Street Journal article and or some of the follow-up articles. I've got one in here from Retail News Asia, actually. That is a link that summarizes some of it. Your thoughts on the Wall Street Journal article and the blowback from the couple of people who didn't like it?
First off, the author has not one article that's technology related, and all the articles are listed on there. So this is the first one I saw so his credibility is pretty grim here. You're probably going to get a few people like that, but I think for the most part, people are enjoying it. It's just it's still so new. We like we were struggling here to even come up with topics, only because there's still a lot to go with the Vision Pro, and we're not seeing a lot of activity with Apple. I'm hoping that we hear some things at WWDC that'll kind of enhance it, especially with the advent of, we think that Vision OS 3.0 is going to come out very soon. So, but overall, I think the article is kind of meh. It's probably easy way to sum it up.
Yeah, I think if there was somebody who had gotten it, in the last couple of months and then turned around and had regrets, that would be a more interesting article. Going back and finding people that were early adopters and bought it before anyone really knew what it could actually do, and before the OS was updated. You're always going to get people where it's not quite a good fit, and that's the chance they take to try something brand new. Now I think people have a much better idea of what it can do, and I don't see people picking it up who then have absolutely no interest in it.
Yeah, this is the Retail News article. It has some of the summary on it, but they kind of picked up some of the major complaints that were associated with the original Wall Street Journal article. The Wall Street Journal article is behind a paywall, so I'm going to find it maybe difficult to put it into the show notes without running into some problems with Wall Street Journal. But yeah, that's been the story for this week that a lot of people have. For when this first came out, there was a lot of look at this, here's a lot of click, that's a discussion. Yep. And then when people got into it got into the article and looked at it, there was sort of like, this is not really a good representation. And all the comments they first started out with some really negative comments from people who they hadn't used the product and didn't know the product, but they made negative comments anyways. But then there were a lot of comments that started to come up and said, hey, wait a minute, I use this thing on a daily basis. I love it. I got into an argument. I didn't get into an argument, but I was at my local mug group this weekend, and we had somebody who came in who was a president at one time of the mug and has been in and out because of work commitments and such. And the first thing he did was poop talk Apple. And it was like, I don't know what Tim's doing. I don't understand this, et cetera, et cetera. And what are they doing with Vision Pro? Vision Pro is not a commercial product. And he was complaining, it's not a commercial product. And Tim quite clearly said it's not a commercial product. He was quoted as saying that. And so this kind of stuff has ticked me off. Yeah, and the funny thing was he didn't know what I was doing in terms of that I have a podcast on it. And he just keeps going on. And it's like, what are they talking? And I'm like, yeah, it's not a commercial product. This is what it's blah, blah, blah. It's got all this stuff in it. And he just wanted to keep fighting back. And there are a couple people in the mug who know about the podcast, and they just kept quiet. It was kind of fun. So then they asked me, what are you doing? And I what's new, Marty? And I said, well, I'm still working on the website. And I gave the website podtalk.net. And I think he went to it and then realized he had stepped in it because he saw the podcast listing. So yeah, that's the article of the week, or an article that we can talk about from the last week about nobody apparently loves the Apple Vision Pro anymore. Next article, I'm going to try and do my best Adam Sandler imitation. The price is wrong, Bob. If you remember, what is that movie? I should remember it. Where he's the hockey player that becomes a golfer and gets teamed up with
Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore. And he gets into a fight with the guy. Yeah, beats the crap out of Bob.
And Bob beats the crap out of him.
Yeah. And he goes, the price is wrong, Bob. Well, thanks to David, we've got a great article about the price is right. And maybe Apple has not been talking up the price enough, because the contestants on The Price is Right were given an option to tell us what the price was on an Apple Vision Pro headset, and the players' answers were $1,000, $750, $1,001, and then the closest was $1,270. Now, I have to admit, this is the price that I told my wife it cost, but so maybe that word got around. But it's just a little ironic that people, with all the publicity about how expensive the damn thing is, nobody on that group knew the pricing of the headset.
Well, that goes a long way to explain why every article has to keep mentioning the price.
Yep.
Yeah. So people can be successful on The Price is Right. Now, this is an article that was posted on AOL, but it looks like it came from Business Insider.
It's Business Insider. I gave you that link because it was behind a paywall.
Yeah. Okay. And it was referenced. Dave, you have anything to say on this?
I find it amusing, the fact that, like you said, the general public doesn't have any awareness of this product, and that shame on Apple, honestly. If they wanted it to be a consumer product, us as fans obviously have been well aware of this product from the get-go. But just your common consumer, you'd like to hear what they say once they saw what the price was. I wish I had the video of that. It must be out there somewhere. I would like to see kind of the expression on the contestants' faces when it wasn't even close. I mean, it was like, they're off by.
Let's see a clip of the moment.
I see just a photo, yeah. But to be that way off, that means there's no consumer knowledge of this product as much as it should be. Tech enthusiasts and Apple enthusiasts and those kind of folks. I'd be curious to know what the demographic of who owns the Vision Pro right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your wish. I don't know if the audio. I think the audio will come through once I turn the audio on.
Look at the Vision Pro on that stand. It zoomed down like a swing. Yeah, there's no sound, but they zipped it back up to the. Oh my God!
Drew's got a little soul patch.
$1,000. The older lady knows to go $1,270. She doesn't even know. She figures out she wins. I mean, she could care less about the Vision Pro. She just cares that she got up on stage to play the show again.
Well, yeah. So the price is wrong.
Again, yeah. I think it just goes right back to consumer knowledge is not there.
Yeah. The thing is looping now on my other screen, and it's like it drops out of the sky, it drops back up. I've got to shut that off because it'll just distract the hell out of me. So yeah, the price is wrong, Bob. We talked a little bit about the accessibility features last week, and there was some interesting follow-up. There's a nice article in Forbes where Apple goes beyond reasonable accommodation with inclusive tech. And it talks about the different, and there's a story in there about Sophie and Magnifier for Mac. And it has some really nice things to say about how helpful Apple has been with tech and I've got to turn these off. It's probably going to force me to take the ads off.
So with accessibility, and I did kind of a summary of what their news release said from Apple. None of the things, obviously we're not going to see these until Vision OS 3.0, but stuff like enhanced zoom and magnification, that's a game changer for someone, especially having visual issues, vision impairment. Because I like to know if someone with vision impairment, have they been able to use the Vision Pro at this point? I would tend to think not, because of having that vision, their vision impaired, and it really doesn't have any of these accessibility features now. I don't, not that I'm aware of anyway. I haven't really played around with what current accessibility is on it, but that really is a standout feature, I think, for those who are visually impaired.
Yeah, I have two people I know who have had visual problems want to try the Vision Pro headset on. And one was when I first got it and brought it to a mug, and I was doing live sampling, and the president of the mug said, I don't know if this is going to work on me, but let's try it. And he tried it, and he had some issues with more monocular kind of vision issues.
Right.
And he said he was able to use the headset, and it accommodated for the monocular view that he had with it. And then another person who I think we all know who's had some monocular issues also, a friend guy who also put the set on and
he's been public
at the
about
last
it,
Mac stock. What'd you say, Dave? Sorry.
A guy's been public about it, so don't worry.
Yeah. But he put that set on at the last Vision Pro. I didn't, Mac stock. I didn't work with him, but it was interesting to see his use and reaction. I don't know if Eric, if you worked with him or someone else in the group.
No, but I work with somebody who has no depth perception. And so it was interesting to see them try the headset. And it turns out that if they get something with depth, that their eye tries to compensate. And the way the eye compensates is one eye keeps moving, trying to remove the depth, which throws off the hand-eye tracking. But you can go, Apple evidently thought about it, because you can go in and you can say, use only a specific eye for all of the hand-eye tracking, and then all the control comes back and it works the way it's supposed to work. So I was really impressed.
That's cool. Another article that talks about Apple might let you scroll with your eyes in the Vision Pro. I am trying to figure out how that's going to work. This is according to Mark Gurman from Bloomberg.
I am too. And we talked about it last week on our show, my show. Because that was the first thing I started to try to learn, was the fact of being able to look at numbers. You're moving your eyes around to, go to my code to type it in, because when you first turn it on, it requires you to put your passcode in, because it isn't able to scan your eyes to unlock it. But the cool thing is, you look at each number, and it selects it, and then you just tap in it like you go, and it works. Same thing with the apps. When you get to the app grid and you're moving your eyes around, so they obviously have the technology, because you're moving your eyes around. It drives me nuts sometimes, because I'm trying not to look at the app, because all it's doing is highlighting the app, and then you can choose it. And then you swipe across, as to take a look at what else you have that you want to launch. And that's great that it highlights it, because sometimes moving your hand around, because that's what you have to do to go that and pinch your fingers to get the app to launch. So they've got some of the technology already in place. Now it's just a matter of if it's going to have something like looking at the app for a period of time, not very long, and then maybe it launches it. Or same thing with putting in your passcode. Will you be able to look at that particular number and just keep looking, and you have your hands are like this, folded, and then it accomplishes what you're trying to do.
I've got a couple of ideas. Just one is, I think of scroll bars, and currently, if you're using Vision Pro, you can look at apps that are open, and they'll have a grab bar down at the bottom. And if you want to grab the grab bar, you look at it, and it lights up the grab bar, and you can grab it and move it. Also has close bars for that too. Well, how do you get people to, use Safari in a more effective way, but to have the scroll bar available that you can look at it and you can just move your eyes up and down on the scroll bar and it will move the page up and down. The other thing is blinks. It's paying attention to your eyes. So if you blinked twice, it could act as an activating thing instead of using your fingers to do it once you sit on it. So, and they have the technology for both of that already, like you said.
I think the term I said is, it's like I Dream of Genie, right?
Genie, right? Yeah. Yes, master. That's what you said. Okay, now we get into real science fiction in terms of the articles about. So I want your reactions to this, but I also kind of want to know: would you do this? Users implanted with Synchron's BCI will be able to control their iPhone, iPad, and Apple Vision Pro with their thoughts.
Yeah, that seems kind of disturbing, honestly.
That one actually looked pretty good. Like, this is one I would be willing to try. I really don't want to do the open the brain up and then implant electrodes, but putting it, inside a blood vessel and having that, I'd be willing to try that at least once.
I had a TIA around, 9 years ago, and it was minor and they couldn't find anything significance with it. But I remember wearing a net for most of the time that I was there, on my head, doing ECGs or EEGs, electroencephalograph. And I could imagine something like a neural net that you put on your head. And we've seen this in science fiction films. That's not necessarily implants, but the idea of having something like that that's wearable that will allow you to, through changing alpha waves or whatever, shift and do some things. I think it's pretty cool. I would sign up for it in a minute, a skinny minute. I would, I love the idea of being bionic.
Oh, that's the show you kept watching all the time. That's why.
What? The Bionic Man? No.
$6 Million Man.
Well, I'm thinking more of like movies like Terminal and what was the Keanu Reeves movie where he downloads stuff in his head and then uploads it for money. He's a carrier of information that way. Yeah, anyways, I think it's a cool concept. We've got a couple of articles on that talk about the concept in a more technical form or fashion. If you want to see that again, all the links will be in the show notes for that. AirPods Pro, we've heard this news before, but it looks like they're finding it in the code too, that AirPods Pro are in the works. In fact, I heard some stuff that said they might be out in the next month. And it includes the rumors are it's got cameras in it, so it can pick up on movements like you would with the cameras in the Vision Pro, and has that type of sensor in it. And it will have a new H3 chip as rumored as part of it, but it should be able to connect to other devices, including, well, it already connects to your phone, but iPads and also Vision Pro. So be interesting to see. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, no, I mean, Apple's way overdue to revise these. I mean, the last revision was, if you want to call it a revision, is when they switched it over to USB-C in 2023. The AirPods Pro 2 came out in 2022, so we're 3 years now for this product. So it's been quite a while. I mean, they had the AirPods Pro, and then sadly enough, I'm looking at 4 different boxes of AirPods sitting here right next to me here, guys. Of all the ones I've purchased over the years, how sick I am sometimes, and I think all 4 of them are either ones my wife couldn't fit in her ears, or I got from the AirPods Pro to the AirPods Pro 2, and of course I had to buy the USB-C one, and even though I do have a perfectly good prayer that's exactly the same as these with the Lightning.
I've got them too. I was going to say when you were talking, Dave, what am I going to do with the 4 sets of Pro AirPods that I have sitting back there, including the AirPod SEs,
I have those too, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I bought them from the beginning. I mean, I think they're a great product, and sorry, I should be reaching for this, but they're a great product, and I've been very pleased with them for the most part. I mean, they have their growing pains the way they work, but like I said, they have a camera in it. That's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I mean, is that something? How are they going to do it? I mean, where is the camera going to go? How do you control it? I mean, if it's there in your ears, that's why it's curious to know how it would function.
I think it's more of a movement sensor than it is. Right now they have the touch movement on it where you can do some things with it by touch. But I'm thinking this is more of a movement, what you call it. I hate to say radar because it's not exactly radar, but some sort of sensor that can pick up movement within a certain distance of your ear. I just noticed Cletus is in the chat room. Hi, Cletus. Thanks for joining us. And I think the game show Price is Right. How many of you guys have seen it in the wild?
Like in person?
Yeah, well, no, I guess. I don't know if he means in person or just actually seen the show.
Oh, yeah, I've watched it. Who hasn't watched Price is Right? It's been on for like 50 years.
So he goes back to that. Anyways, yeah, it's good to have Cletus. And you want to join us in the chat room, you can join us on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Just go to youtube.com/@vision profiles and you can join the live chat like Cletus has done. And we've got some other folks, I think, in there too.
Yep.
In the chat room. So, yeah, this looks like it's going to be another expense, the AirPods Pros 3. I just need to lose mine more often or have family members who use them and lose them. I don't have enough people who are using. I could give them to my son, I guess. He always manages to lose them doing the lawn. So
I'm very bad when the new Apple product comes out, as I just explained with the AirPods.
Yeah, I put a couple of articles in that were about work and efficiency. And Dave, I think these might be, and also Eric, these might be good articles for you to comment on. I don't use the device as part of my working environment, or am I in a working environment where people are using the device for those purposes? I use it for some of my own work at home, productivity and such. But first article comes from, it's 9 to 5, and they talk about Apple at work. It's augmented reality and streamlining service for training, and gives you some availabilities of in itself how it can be used. And Apple at work has remote support. There's ways that it can be used for training with AR. And so it's a good overview article. But then there was this study that was in the Financial Post that really breaks down some of the ways in which it was used. The percentages, like the class completed the course nearly 24% faster than classes using training curriculum. So if it was augmented with AR or VR, 76% of the class tracked at least 3 weeks ahead of schedule, while 88% were 2.5 weeks ahead. It minimized errors, and it also boosted confidence and engagement. So the idea of using Apple Vision Pro to help students in terms of learning curve around things, and BILT, B-I-L-T, is the system, I guess, the business, I guess, that was creating these sort of learning strategies.
Yeah, it looks like it's a U.S. company too. I have not heard of this before. Oh, okay. So you go to their site, built for Vision Pro. Yeah, it looks like this is something for a lot of manufacturing, assembly from going to that site. I'm not super familiar with this product, but even they're showing like an engine design and being able to zoom it back and forth, looking at it, guided work for assembly. Oh, here's like immersive instructions like how to assemble a grill, like a Weber grill, and being able to do 3D zooming in and out.
Man, I could have used that. I could have used that, assembling a Weber grill. That's an all-day activity.
Yeah. This is pretty slick. I mean, you're using your Vision Pro to look at it, and then you go to the actual product and you install it as it shows you. But interestingly enough, how it all depends on how you feel when you're using, because not everybody likes to be standing, and if you're out on your patio and you're assembling this grill, are you going to want to stand with the Vision Pro on your head and worry that you can't see, unless it's going to be it'll be transparent, so you can see the grill as well as look at the immersive instructions.
No, Dave, you missed the whole point. You put the headset on, then you're in charge, and you can tell your spouse how to build a grill.
Oh,
Honey, put these grills in this place.
And there's a mouth, the mouth is open for drinking the beer while you're telling them to put the screws in there. Yeah, pick that piece up, put it in there.
Yeah.
No, over there.
Yeah.
yeah. I can't see that going well. No, not like that. What's the matter? Can't you see? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That is really cool. We have seen, and I'm going to put the link in the show notes for the built, because that's a really cool site. I'm glad you went to it.
Yeah.
And because it does show some animation of what the process looks like. But we've seen some of these apps, there's some apps that have been in the store for a while that are like blow apart a jet engine. And the idea is to sell the concept of hiring this company to do the kind of stuff that you see on Built, or at least on this Built website. So you give them the product, you give them the parts, and then they create the animation for the training that goes into whoever's going to be working on those pieces. And that was always kind of a lost thing for me. It was like, okay, so this amp is showing me how you can take an engine part out. Big deal. It's not any fun for me, but it really was meant to demonstrate for enterprise. And then I think this is an actual example of how it could be used in enterprise for training.
Oh, for sure. I mean, this is an endless opportunity for this. Most companies are probably pretty in their infancy of looking at even exploring this device just on the pure cost level there, because it's cost a little bit cost prohibitive for a lot of companies because of that. But I can see this happening. I mean, if you go back to that 9 to 5 Mac article, one of the first things they said about it for enterprise applications is remote support. Team Viewer is a app that's been out there for quite a long time. I use it, the free version, to help people, and because I don't use it that often to justify a license, but enables real time AR assisted guidance in field technicians. So it reduces that travel expense, especially because if they can prevent the tech from having to travel to the site to actually do the work. It gives us some more. I mean, me being working in remotes in IT support and understanding it gives us much more flexibility to maybe help us reduce time spent on a call, whether it be a call and do they say, oh, we have this and this, and what's this issue, and that this is a physical problem with the laptop. And with AR, you can look into that machine and see, okay, but I know most of the time you're probably not going to be able to, if it's a normal user, hey, well, you can pop these screws off the bottom cover and you pull this wire out. I don't know if you want to be doing that, but at least it gives the support technicians some better perspective of what to expect when it comes to support. But I think we got a bit of ways to go before we're anywhere near that.
I've seen a couple of much more basic uses, just either doing a panoramic view of a room, so that you can then describe to somebody, go to this particular wall, look halfway down, it's that third drawer, pull that out, and the item you want is in that drawer. It's faster to navigate. And then a couple of places where they've done, there's pictures of the insides of printers and of toner cartridges, because sometimes how they get inserted and which way it goes isn't, you get somebody that pulls all the cartridges out of a printer and then has to try to figure out how to put them back.
That's huge, because we dealing with the printer issues all the time. Oh, what's the model? Oh, let me look it up. Oh, okay, so here it is. And in fact, if we have the ability to even be able to share that video with the person, so then they can see it later, would be another great opportunity for this. But it's giving the support technician the ability to do a good job of relaying the information and then providing that data so they can do it. Same thing, like, the common thing, paper jams in printers. You're dealing with that all the time. Well, I can't find the paper anywhere, and then you go, it's pretty common here where you could let me send that picture to you, and then you might find some paper that's jammed in here. That's why the sensor's still picking it up. Things like that. Yeah. Printers are by far the worst thing to have to troubleshoot. By all of the things you deal with in IT support, the printers are the worst when it comes to support.
I always have trouble trying to even get my printer to work. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I have a direct line in. I'm not even bothering with wireless, and half the time it can't be found.
Right.
And it is a Mac-friendly printer, from what I can tell.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Many bigger companies, mine included, we use network printers, and it's going over the network. So that's a whole nother ball. That you rolled up. You have to flip in the air and try to figure out, is this the way to do it? You know, some of them we have all these all-in-one copiers, like a Xerox copier, a Canon copier. It's also a printer. It's a scanner. It can fax if you need to still fax. You know, that's why I even say that word in this day and age in 2024. We still deal with fax machines. But you know but that's the thing with printers. This could be a good opportunity to help with that too, because that's what they call and say, I can't print. I know it's not. I'm not sure what this is or what the issue is, and a lot of times it's network, so that's not hard. You can go in and connect to the device. Usually it has an IP address that you can connect directly to, and then be able to test it that way. But when it's a physical problem, that's the tough thing. The same thing. I've got another example. My monitors won't turn on. Common thing that happens all the time. It happened to me the other day. Had a user. Oh yeah, I can't connect to my laptop. I'm stuck using just my monitors. I'm stuck on using the laptop. And then sure enough, the service the help desk person didn't take care of it. And they says, let me escalate it to the next level support, which is me. So then I go into the room and guess what? Both monitors are turned off.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Should have known that. Should have known. But could this be? My point of is, could this be another opportunity to just say, okay, let me see how the setup is, and giving them a better idea. And you could have saved an escalation of a ticket like that, having this ability to look at these things. So.
Well, a lot of times it's not an infinite number of different kinds of printers. You might have maybe 15, but that doesn't mean that whoever's answering the call has seen all 15. So,
right.
Well, I want to move on. We're moving through the hour, and I'm going to mention, I think I'm going to skip the Apple Intelligence piece because we can wait till that develops more to talk about it, but it's interesting. And this piece very quickly was something out of TechCrunch, and VUZ, which was VUZ 360, just got $12 million for immersive video experiences across emerging markets and the US. So there's always concern, who's going to be making this emerging video? And is there anybody out there that's this immersive video? Are there people out there that are really interested in it? And apparently this company is interested enough with $12 million to be able to start to produce these things. And, there's probably cash in it for that purpose. Otherwise, why would they do it as a business? Just an interesting article that came up that kind of supports the fact that there are people who are still buying into creating immersive media. And then I'll mention it. We'll keep it in the show notes. Apple Research reveals potential of the future of Apple Intelligence tools. And they mention Vision Pro in here. They mention some of the tools that are out there. But I think what they do in this article is they break it down a little bit, particularly around the photography and the matrix model, 3D modeling, to give folks an idea of how all of this is, how the quote magic is done, if you want to use Tim Cook's view of it. And it gives a sense of where the modeling is and where it might go. So an interesting read for folks who want to get into that. This is an Apple Insider article. And then probably the most important section we're going to cover tonight is about, or is it Bono? No, Bono is Sonny and Cher.
Sonny Bono.
Yeah, and so it's Bono. And these articles, I think, are here just because we need to respect Dave's love for Bono.
You do. I'm respecting the fact that in 11 days we're going to see the first full-length immersive video on the Vision Pro, and I don't know. I guess you have to you want to like Bono and you do, but the fact of the matter is this is going to be a full feature-length movie, and it's a concert video. So I think this is exciting, and this and then what Bono said was the fact that Apple is all in on this.
Yeah, this first article, of course, they ended off. This is coming out of Upload VR, and we've covered articles from them before, but of course they ended off with a starting price of $3,500, driven by its use of expensive and supply-constrained 4K micro LED displays. Apple Vision Pro was never going to be a breakout mass market hit, and Apple seems aware of this, given the product's name and Tim Cook's comments. And he talks about what Tim Cook said to the Wall Street Journal. So it kind of veers away from Bono and veers into the whole, is Apple Vision Pro worthwhile? But then there's his second article for
Deadline.
Bono from Deadline. Stories of Surrender draws 6.5-minute ovation at the Cannes premiere.
That's impressive.
Well,
At the 5-minute mark.
Yeah, but Green Lantern drew a 10-minute one. That's a joke.
I know. That's why I laughed.
Tried to think of the worst movie that I could think of, and that was the one that came. U2 frontman. See, I'm getting stuck on Bono.
Bono.
U2 frontman, rock legend Bono just rocked the Palais with the documentary, receiving a 6-minute ovation and at the 5-minute mark, he jokingly started to unbutton his shirt to keep the applause going.
He's a character. Now this is good stuff. I think once we see the movie, it's gonna be interesting to see. But the thing is, in the Upload article, you did say Bono says they quoted him as saying, "As Apple is dying to make the Vision Pro more affordable." You didn't hit on that part. Bono's got some pretty good in with Apple. I mean, we all don't forget going back to the days of the YouTube edition of the iPod and forcing their music on every single person's iPod, and what an uproar that was. So you got Bono and U2 have been pretty good partners with Apple for quite a long time. So I would
there's a long history.
It's kind of credible what he said, but the thing is, they're wishing to do it. So
they're wishing to do what, Dave?
To make it affordable. I mean, I don't know. I mean, manufacturing is expensive, and even as many of the tech sites have tried to find out what the actual cost it is for Apple to make it. Is it their cost or is it the cost?
Yeah, one of the questions I was going to ask tonight, and they're having a discussion in the chat room about, do you really see people with Apple Vision Pros in the wild? And one of the comments, well, Eric said this to Cletus, mostly on airplanes, and I have to agree with that. There are mostly people I see on airplanes, is where I see it in the wild. They should have like cafes where, all of us nerds can show up with our headsets and do interactive stuff. Particularly if they had more apps that allowed us to do that, that would be very cool. I think, one of the questions I was going to pose tonight was, what do you think is next for Apple Vision Pro? And maybe we'll save that for another show. I was also wondering what your thoughts were, and we've got a couple of weeks yet. What's your predictions for Apple Vision or Vision OS when it comes to WWDC? But we're running about full time right now. We've got some apps to look at and talk about. So I'll set that up. I'll set that up ahead of time and get maybe all of us there, Daniel, you, Dave, and we'll talk about sort of WWDC predictions and what do you think the next version is. I think the cheaper version that Bono is talking about is maybe the Apple Vision Air. And I see that bifurcating, or it could be the glasses, where you have one that's a working device and one that's a delivery device. And the working device is the Vision Pro 2, and the Vision Lite or the Vision Air is the media can be a media device. And that might make it more affordable, that it's not meant to have all the computing support and camera support in it, but more to deliver stuff that is 3D spatial that's coming from some other device like your phone. But I want to see a cheaper device. I'm sure he wants to get in more hands of more people too, not just Tim, but also Bono. We have some apps to talk about.
We have apps.
And I thought we never really talk about app development or programming with this. So I, one of the apps that has been highlighted, and this is for a designing tool for Swift UI. And is it on other platforms?
Mac,
Yes, it is on.
iPad, iPhone, and Vision Pro.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there it is. So we have the link to the Vision Pro kind of views that if you want to see that, but it basically is your windows up in front of you to be able to do what kind of programming you like. Well, Swift UI programming makes real designs without writing any code. You can export to Xcode, Swift Playgrounds, and more. Features VStack, HStack, ZStack, grids and scrolls, SF symbols, all in-text modifiers like kerning, line height, font weight as templates that are available. And its cost is free, but you can get some premium additions to it. Premium monthly is $2.99 and premium yearly is $29.99 if you want to have some premium additions to the program. But this, I think, has it just hit Vision Pro? Well, it has a version history, but it doesn't talk about when they had the Vision Pro piece come out. But it's one of the apps highlighted in it. Do either of you do any Swift programming?
No. Mm-hmm.
That was going to be the fun thing that I was going to learn to do in all my free time. And guess what? I don't have free time, and the little I've tried to do it hasn't been a lot of fun. So, I mean, there are people who really get into it, but it feels too much of a puzzle to me in a lot of ways. I took C++ programming when I was in my doctoral program as a foreign language and didn't get very far with it. But that's an app. It's called Details Pro, and it's for folks who like to design with Swift UI in particular. I added another one, which first look, it's kind of meh. When you look at the actual ads for the app, it's kind of meh. But I played with it this afternoon, and it's really kind of neat. And you can see, if you're watching the video here, you can pull up different places on Earth, and they actually have a window that has like pyramids, Eiffel Tower. So you can hit some of those icons and it will take you to those places. And if you've seen these sort of Lazy Susan tabletop kind of designs where they have 3D dioramas in a sense of places, that's what it provides. But what I did, which really kind of surprised me in terms of its work, you can travel through detailed 3D models of cities, landscapes, and natural wonders. So I thought, is this only going to take me to like Paris or dedicated places? And instead, I said Kent, Ohio. And sure enough, it brought up 3D Google map sort of diorama. Now, the buildings were obviously not photographic, but were generated to look like it. And you can do it apparently with any city. My sister's now vacationing in Wisconsin and northern Wisconsin, and I put in the town that she's in, and sure enough, I'm familiar enough with the town because we vacationed there as kids, and I've been up there in the last couple of years that it's like, sure enough, it's there. So it seems like it works anywhere you want it to work as long as Google has mapped it. And it creates this 3D kind of, you zoom in and out of the trees look a little funky and the buildings look like they're made out of paper mache, but it still is a good structural description of what that area is like. So, and it is $4.99 if you want to spend some money on that. And it's Spatial Earth. Now, somebody put in Action Deck.
Wasn't me.
I couldn't resist.
I'm looking at this very closely. I can't wait to install it.
So it's somewhat primitive at the moment. So there's an app for the Mac and an app for the Vision Pro, and it brings up a window, and then say you have a browser window open, you can then click on a grid of put the window on the left, on the right, make it a third of the size or a third of the width or half of the width, and it will, move the window on the screen according to the control board on the Vision Pro. And it's early in development. The developer was taking feedback. So on Reddit, people were saying, oh, and could you do this control or add this thing? And so as they're learning and moving things around, they're adding stuff, and there's no charge right now. So it's kind of fun to play with. And I think it will get better and have more features over time as things occur to the developer. But it was neat to look at and sort of shows the potential that could be there going forward.
So is this like basically Windows management for Vision Pro?
It's a control deck where you have one machine being able to send commands to another machine. Windows was the easiest thing that they had so far, but it could be something like audio controls or queuing things for specific apps. I don't know what they'll come up with.
So is it like a keypad? It's like a keypad for actions. If you open it up,
yeah,
you have a bunch of.
There's a bunch of icons, and the icons basically are saying for this icon, it'll show a window that is slid over to the left side of the screen or the far right side of the screen or centered or 50% of the screen. It's an early app, but it works, ties together. When you click on the icon on the Vision Pro or look and tap on it, it changes the window on the Mac.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm sitting here with an Elgato Stream Deck with a bunch of buttons on it that when I push it, it generates different things. It goes to my web browser to kind of show the articles we're talking about. I can do individual shots of, David, Eric, or myself and or the whole group. And I want to play with this. I didn't see this afternoon. I mean, that's fine. I'm not, but now I really want to play with it, and it'll be in the show notes for folks to play with too.
It's in test flight too, so you can test it as well.
Oh, okay.
Getting the direct install.
Yep.
Minecraft, the Minecraft movie. Who put that in?
I just figured we should mention it. It was going out as an ad of, hey, there's a 3D movie out and it's Minecraft, and I spent way too much watching kids move bricks around, so I thought I will take a peek. I've only made it through half the movie, but it's Minecraft, pandas and sheep and villagers. And
how long is it?
What was it? An hour and 41 minutes.
That was free?
I'm sorry.
It's on Apple TV.
Is it free?
I don't think it's free.
No,
I don't think it's free.
No.
Is this the movie that was in theaters now?
Yeah. I mean, It'll probably be less expensive a little longer, and maybe it will show up in other spots. But at the moment, I don't remember what the price was on it.
Yeah. I barely made it through I barely made it through the trailer. So I don't think I'll make it through more than an hour, and I'll probably not make an hour and 44 minutes of the movie. After 1 minute, I'll probably be out.
If you don't have somebody obsessed with Minecraft, it is probably less of an interest, unless you're a Jack Black fan or something.
Keep trying to talk me into this movie. You're nuts.
Jason Momoa. No?
Yeah, okay, hunky dunky.
You're not going to talk me into this. I've never been a big Minecrafter fan.
I'm glad other kids of smaller generations are into it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Eric.
How about Spatial Gallery? We could talk about that.
Let's talk about Spatial Gallery. And I don't have any links for this, but it is the app Spatial Gallery that has been added now as part of the Vision Pro 2.5. And I think I saw something in Reddit where they were saying, hey, and then there's this in Spatial Gallery. And when I hadn't gone into the app for quite some time, probably a month. And I went into it this afternoon, and it was like everything was new. It alternated. It was like Apple ad, 2 things new. Apple ad, 2 things new. I think they even had an ad for Minecraft in it. Buried in. It's like, let's take a look behind the scenes at. No, I don't really It's a behind the scenes. If I watch that show and I'm really into it, or it's an ad for me to try and get me to watch that show. So it's kind of, I was impressed with the amount of stuff that was in there, and the stuff that was not ad driven was really pretty cool. And I'll shut up and you can talk about that. But I just became aware of all of the interspersed ads in it that it felt like commercial television.
Well, and some of it I think is intentional, like behind the scenes of a show or whatever. For somebody interested in the show, being able to see that is kind of cool. It's like special extras or something. But the gallery is arranged by date. So if you're trying to figure out what's new and what's not new, in the corner they'll put the date. So last week it was everything came out on the 8th. This week it's from May 15th. So if you look at everything that's labeled May 15th, you get all the new stuff. There is a snail one that was interesting. Well, yeah, because
as interesting as snails can be. With
I
garlic butter
about it. Yeah, well, yeah, it would spoil it if I talk about it. There's not a lot of depth there. The 3 orphan cheetahs, there are a bunch of clips
Pretty
for
cool.
that. That was kind of cool. The Severance reference, basically kind of an ad thing for Severance. A whole pile of people with balloons in London. So, maybe if you're a fan of whatever that location is in London, you get to see it. And balloons. I don't know. There was a video short that actually was, okay, I think, well done, called Darkness Falls, that had motorcycle, hotel room, butterfly, and was evidently a dream sequence.
Generally, when I come across motorcycles, hotel rooms, and butterflies, it probably is a dream sequence.
I don't know. There's usually a story there. I don't want to assume, but it did mention dreams. So, yeah. So, and I guess I hadn't noticed in the past what the organization was. It was always, somewhere in here, there's a new thing. So knowing that they date stamp it so that you can scroll back and forth until you are in whatever week that you haven't seen before is helpful.
Yeah, that's news to me, and I'm glad you made that observation. It'll make my visit to Spatial Gallery a lot more intentional in the future. I do just see so much of the Apple product sub push in there. Next thing you know, they're going to have Bono clips in there. Sorry, Dave. But yeah, I mean, they're doing a lot. Anything else, folks, before we get into rolling off the show?
Nope.
Then let's talk about Macstock before we go. Macstock is coming July 11th, 12th, and 13th. Crystal Lake, Illinois, which is northern Illinois, close to Woodstock, which is hence the name Macstock. And lots of great opportunities and speakers coming up. There's a weekend pass that you can purchase for all of the trainings, all of the workshops, lunches Friday through Sunday. You get a t-shirt, you get a digital pass that means you can revisit the training as you want to. And then you've got all these great speakers coming. There's Dave Ginsburg, myself, Joe McKinley, my son, Will Gensius is going to be there with me. That and he is flying in from a camping trip essentially for that. We just talked about it last night in terms of his plans to be there. Brian Flanagan Arthur's presenting, Kelly Gumont, Jeff Gammett, Mike Schmitz is going to present, and Allison Sheridan, Brittany Smith, Brett Terpstra, just a great group of presenters and topics that cover all sorts of things, all things Mac. And if you want to be part of the thing and get a $50 discount, you can get $50 off with the code PodTalk50. So it's a great experience. Can't talk enough about it without you thinking I'm in a cult. We all might be. Who knows? We all might be. But Eric will be there. You'll be there probably with your big power generator, your big battery.
Smaller this year.
Okay. But it will probably power a small city during Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just a good time. It's just a great time.
It is.
45-minute presentations, some 90-minute presentations. But I always like, if you're not really interested in one presentation, just wait 45 minutes because another one will come. But they're all good. They're all interesting. Dave, any comments on it?
Yeah, no, you can't beat it. If everybody has known, I've spoke at every single in-person MacStock since its inception in 2015. Very proud of that, and got a lot of. We just have an amazing time. The networking alone is worth the price of admission. You meet your old friends, you meet new friends. You get to walk in the halls and talk to people. Everybody's approachable. All the speakers are approachable. We'll all be there. Going to be added bonus if anybody's fans of Mac Geek Ab, Dave Hamilton and.
Right.
Adam Christensen and Pilot Pete will be there to do Mac Geek Ab live on Saturday night. That's going to be a blast. They did that last year. So there's all kinds of surprises. Ecamm's a big sponsor, as we're using Ecamm here right now. We'll get to be able to meet Doc Rock. It'll be my first time meeting Doc Rock in person. I can't wait. I've been on a few podcasts with him over the years, and the whole crew from Ecamm is going to be there. I'm really looking forward to that presentation. I really want to start learning this deep, and to have the folks directly from the company is going to be just an amazing presentation. So can't miss it. Worth it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to, we all look forward to it. Eric?
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have a chance to do another one of the Vision Pro demos where we can have lots of Vision Pros in one room all at the same time.
And we should all watch a movie on FaceTime. I don't know. We'll have fun with it. Maybe we should do some spatial recording, walking around the place with the headsets on and create a.
Oh,
I don't think we're doing the movie.
Okay.
I don't think we're doing the movie thing this year.
No, that isn't happening.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's on the list, but
I don't think Wally's going to make it. He had been doing it over the years, but yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. We got plenty of stuff to do in these 3 days coming up.
Yeah, I just remember the time that it was an after hours kind of thing in a bar associated with the hotel where we did trivia, and it was, I forget the brand of the game, but it was all like, you don't know Jack. Kind of trivia and other games.
Jackbox games.
Yeah, Jackbox games. That was a great time. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did that.
So enjoyable. It's not a huge group. We're not talking like 300, 400 people, but it is a good group of people to be with. So join us at MacStock. You can find out more about it at MacStockConferenceandExpo.com. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Josh and Cletus in the chat room joining us for the show. If you want to join us at the show, you can find us on Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/@visionprofiles. And that will take you to the page, and you can join the rest of the people live in the chat room, asking questions, making comments. Thanks to Dave. Dave, where else can we find you?
You can find me at my website for my podcast, which is intouchwithios.com. We're on YouTube, just like this podcast, every Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific at youtube.com/intouchwithios. I am on MacVoices Live every Tuesday. I'll join these fine gentlemen on that show as well, with Chuck Joyner on Tuesday nights. And we do the Mac show most Fridays on the British Tech Network with our friend Jeff Gammon and Patrice and Marty has joined us as well. So we have a lot of fun on that show on Fridays when we're available. But on social media, Blue Sky, Mastodon at DaveG65. Thanks again for having me, guys.
Yeah, anytime. And we got to have this pre-WWDC conversation about Vision Pro.
Absolutely.
And predictions. That'll be fun to do. Yeah.
That'll be neat.
Eric, where can people find you?
Here on Mondays, Mac Voices on Tuesdays, Thursdays, In Touch with iOS, so I can get all my operating systems throughout the week. If you see, where is it? Mastodon, at EA Bolden at techhub.social if you want to reach me.
And you can find me at Gencius, Jencius at bluesky.com, also at mastodon.social, at Gencius at mastodon.social, and all the shows and other projects I do, even a reference to the shows that I do with Dave and Chuck, you can find at thepodtalk.net. That's the website that contains all the shows. Dave, I've run out of those cleaners, but I have a new surprise coming this year at MacStock that stepping it up a little bit, and we'll see what happens. Please join us. If you like the show, you can actually join us and be on the show. If you are a Vision Pro fan or have an interest in it, we'll invite you in just to talk about the articles like we talk about them. You can contact us at visionprofilespodcast@gmail.com. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Learn more about Vision Profiles and other of the podcasts at the website, thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.